¿Ya estando la música ya empieza?
I love micheladas.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the I Love Micheladas show. I don't even know what number we are. There we go. Just imagine we're at the Hollywood Bowl right now. Just imagine.
Yeah, it's more like this.
We have with us Cynthia Fuentes, who is marketing, one of the marketing people out there.
Yes.
Hollywood Bowl, LA Philharmonic.
Yes.
Pretty much all the major music institutions in LA, right?
Oh, thank you. Yes.
It's like the dopest thing, and you're Latina.
I'm
you're
Latina.
Young, you're female.
Yes, yeah. And I grew up in South LA.
South LA.
Yeah,
I mean, you're an LA kid.
Yeah, I'm an LA kid, so I grew up in South LA, but went to school in Huntington Park. So Huntington Park High School. What's up, HP? The real HP.
The real
okay?
HP.
I want to say that. Pero yeah, so like it really. I had never been to the Hollywood Bowl.
When was the first time you went to the Hollywood Bowl?
I went to go see Depeche Mode.
Really?
So Depeche Mode.
How old were you?
I was probably 19 years old. And I love Dave Gahan. He is my hero. I love the way he dances, the way he moves, and I was just mesmerized. You know, like every show I went to. I went a lot to the Forum when I was a kid.
Okay, that was your spot.
Like the spot, and I went a lot to like the Roxy, like small venues, because at that
more
time,
indoor venues.
Yeah, where rock en español was basically being performed, like it was being performed at kind of these smaller venues. And
was you there or at the what's the amphitheater at Hollywood at the Universal Studios?
Oh, it was called
The amphitheater, right? The Universal Studios amphitheater.
Yes.
I mean, that's where my mom would always go see Luis Miguel.
Oh yeah. Oh, Enanitos Verdes.
Yeah, that's where like the big.
Yeah.
Either you played at the amphitheater.
Exactly.
Or you played like a
Universal
Universal
Amphitheater. Yeah. And then it became other things. But yeah, that used to be the location where like Spanish bands would play, right?
Yeah.
So like you saw everybody there. But yeah, I had never went to the Hollywood Bowl like before. I actually I went once to see Depeche Mode. And then later when I came back, I realized the connection between the LA Phil and the Hollywood Bowl. Mm-hmm. So the LA Philharmonic programs the Hollywood Bowl. The Hollywood Bowl is a public park, which a lot of people don't know, which is why you can picnic, take your micheladas.
Oh, by the way, before you're gonna have a vegan michelada because you're vegetarian.
I'm vegetarian.
We're gonna pop this open.
Latina, vegetarian, and proud.
Like my friends say, I'm single, bilingual, and ready to mingle. Yeah, boom, boom, boom. So wait, how did you? Do you work more with the Philharmonic, or do you work more, or is it just one whole thing? How does it all kind of?
So it's one whole thing, and I didn't realize that. But at the Walt Disney Concert Hall, we program close to 125 shows.
Uh-huh.
And then it can be anywhere from classical to jazz to, they call it world music, but it's like anything that doesn't fall into any of the other categories. And then jazz. Mm-hmm. And then at the Hollywood Bowl, it's very similar, but you get to work on all types of show, right? So I work from things like Beethoven's Ninth Festival to this last summer we had Natalia Lafourcade, we had Las Cafeteras, Café Tacuba. I mean,
for the Café Tacuba concert, we had the Michemobi there.
Yes.
And we did Micheladas the pre-show.
Yeah.
And then you went inside.
And let me tell you, this was a dream of Fernando and I for a long time. So salud
We've been trying to
that. Salud
Cheers.
to that.
Cheers again, stuff
yeah,
done.
Salud. Oh, I love that.
What do you think?
Yeah, I love that flavor.
Feels like a michelada.
Yes.
Because it is a michelada.
And I'm also gonna say I'm drinking it with Topo Chico.
Topo Chico, because you can have it. It's not. You don't have to have beer.
Yeah, I call
You're probably the third guest to do a non-alcoholic michelada.
We call it a virgin michelada.
A virgin.
And
michelada.
I asked for it at all the different bars, but I'm glad you see. It's a trend. We can do this.
We got it done.
No, but. Yeah, so we had an event at the Café Tacuba concert, and I feel like that's a perfect example of something that I've been trying to do at the Phil for a really long time. And it's just kind of this idea, your brand is such an LA, it's an LA staple. For me, it's and Micheladas is such an LA staple.
Micheladas in general, right?
Yeah.
It's becoming this LA thing. We drank it forever.
Yeah.
And it's been a backyard thing, and now it's become more mainstream.
Exactly. And so for me, it's that Hollywood Bowl should represent all of those things that make LA.
It's a public park, so it
park.
represents the public.
Exactly. And so when I said let's do a party, the first people I thought of was micheladas. I love micheladas and la junta. That to me is that is an LA party.
LA party.
Yeah, and so the idea of really converting that space. So everybody knows the Hollywood Bowl for picnicking, but I think it's there's something to be said about creating community.
Yeah.
That's what we were talking about, right? in a concert venue. Like, that's what I love. That's why I got into all of this. Like,
That's very unique because usually when I think of a concert venue, I think of security guards getting you in as quick as possible and then getting you out as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Right? That turnaround.
Yeah, and it's like, for me, the experience starts like before that, right? So like, for me, the most exciting part of the show is like getting your tickets. Like, I remember being a kid, like
Getting a physical ticket.
I have so many physical tickets from like growing up, you know? And I think that, and my other favorite part of the show is when the lights go down.
Yeah.
Like that first yell that the audience does.
Yeah, I mean, just like feeling like you're inside this giant monolithic thing that is the audience that you're part of, right?
Yeah.
And that first scream that you said just blankets over you.
Yeah.
And you immediately get transferred into this new, almost dimension, where you're no longer in LA, but you're at a concert.
And it's a communal experience.
Yeah,
right?
so much
it's like
so.
everybody's excitement and energy, like right at that moment.
Yeah.
Or even like you think about the first time like you hear your favorite band hit a note.
Yeah.
It like bubbles through your skin, right? And so like that's why I kind of got into this. Like,
what was your first concert ever?
I'm gonna say it was Banda Machos.
Banda Machos, really?
At Pico Rivera. So
Wait, is that Que no quede huella?
no, Banda Machos sings. Oh my God, I can't even remember a song right now.
I'm thinking Que no quede huella, but what's...
No, that's
That's
Bronco.
That's Bronco.
I'm sure they were there, but the band I remember was Banda Machos.
So then your first note was probably like an accordion.
Yes, you know, but let me tell you, Ramona Ayala was also at that show. So it was one of those Pico Rivera shows where like the radio station puts like a million different artists.
Yeah.
But I was a kid, and my mom is a huge concert goer. Like, my mom is a super fan of Vicente Fernandez.
That's where you got your love of
That's
music.
where I got it. Yeah, like my mom is like, she used to fly to León, Guanajuato when they have their feria.
What?
Yeah, every year used to fly to León, Guanajuato.
Just listen to you, just turn up.
Just to go see Vicente Fernandez. that was, or it continues to be kind of like her favorite artist.
She still goes, for art artists.
Yeah, and when he retired, we went to Mexico City. So.
On the farewell tour?
On the farewell. So he did this big concert in El Auditorio Nacional called Una Azteca en el Azteca. And it was at the same time as Coachella here. So my family and I called it Chentachella. And it was like 10 of us, and we went, and it was the best show ever. Vicente Fernandez, go watch the video. He cries the whole time. And let me tell you, the audience was crying.
Man.
But yeah, my mom is the mujer who like, you know, she loves music. So since I was a kid, I've been, you know, kind of really into music. It was the soundtrack of like our Saturdays and Sundays when we clean the house, and then
like música para trapear. That's like trap music.
yes. Juan Gabriel was the original trap artist.
Yeah, para trapear.
Para trapear. But yeah, so it's kind of crazy to think for me like that I get to kind of work in music. You know, it's an honor to my mom. I'm gonna say like,
that's awesome.
You know, it's kind of an honor.
Where did you work before Hollywood Bowl Philharmonic?
So I went to San Diego State. Shout out to SDSU.
Shout out to SD.
And I used to work at a gallery first. I worked at an art gallery because I kind of had this sense like, people would say like, what do you want to do? And my dad wanted me to be an accountant, and I was like, not interested.
Hey, listen, shout out to accountants.
Shout out to accountants, but you know, I need a calculator for everything. And you know, I just knew that I wanted to work in the arts, and I wasn't sure what that was. Like, I didn't know if that was in a gallery or, you know, like, or in music. And then at some point, I had this woman, this amazing mujer, who hired me to be her assistant. And so she used to own all the different stations in San Diego. So she owned,
you were like, what, 19, 20?
I was 19, yeah, and she worked at radio. She owned Radio Latina, she owned the country stations.
She was a boss.
She was a boss. I mean, this lady, imagine if Maria Felix was alive, that's who this lady was. Like, she was like...
She pulled up a trailer?
Oh,
like,
we were called her Doña Marta. Like, she, you know, shout out to Doña Marta, because she really did put me on the path. But
she put you on.
She put me on. She hired me to be her assistant. And then when I was graduating, I told her, I said, you know, Doña Marta, I'm going to go home. I'm going to go back to LA. And she said, ¿No quieres trabajar conmigo? And I said, you know, I really studied marketing. That's what I want to do. So she called me a week later and was like, I have a job for you. And I was like, yes, I'm going to work at Radio Latina. She's sending me to the Latin station. I'm in. Yeah. She sends me to the classical music station. And I walked in and was like, she's testing me.
So she owned the classical music station as well?
Yeah, so she owned It's a binational classical music station in San Diego. So it's actually, the antennas are Mexican, so they're Mexican radio stations. And they broadcast to San Diego and Baja California.
But I think that's, to me that speaks to more like, we have our image of what a Latino, Hispanic radio listener is, and then she's like, no, there's also this giant pocket of classical music listeners, or people, like, music transcends.
Exactly. Es una forma de arte. That's what she would say. Like, and she'd say all kinds of music. So she owned country, Latin, and classical music, and she'd be like, la música es una forma de arte.
Yeah, and it is.
Yeah, and so, she put me on this classical station, which I took as a test, and I said, you know what? The universe is testing me, and I accept. And so I ended up working at this radio station for 5 years, and it was the best thing I ever did.
Really?
It taught me, it was a really small team, so like it was 7 of us running this radio station, and I got to basically do anything I wanted.
I mean, that's a blessing in disguise, right?
Yes.
I mean, had you worked at the bigger radio station with the more pop music, it's probably a bigger team.
Yeah, I would have been like in the mailroom for years, And here it was like, you know how to produce a TV spot? No? Okay, here, go do it. It was like just jump in. Yeah. So it was like you learned by doing. Like there was so much of that. And so once I worked there, like I started learning about classical music. So like the programmer was my friend, so I would be like, what does a concerto mean? Or like, what's the difference between Beethoven and this? Which kind of seem, now as questions.
What's chamber music?
Yeah, what's chamber music? I didn't understand because I didn't grow up with it, and so he had the patience to like tell me about it, and I really found the beauty in it, like truly the beauty in like the creation. Because if you think about orchestral music this way, like if you go see a band and it's 5 folks, right? They're on stage. Think about all of them playing at the same time in tune, right? So now think about that for 120 folks.
Yeah, it's art. I mean, you look at what Dudamel does. People don't really understand like his job because you see him. And I forgot who I was talking to, and he was like, "Yeah, I went to see it, but like I don't really understand." So I saw him, and I was trying to figure out like what he moves because it's not even on beat.
Yeah.
And it's like no, because it's like they're communicating and they're like 5 steps ahead.
Yeah.
And there's like this complex language, right?
Yeah. And think about it this way: it's almost like they're reinterpreting music, right?
Yeah.
So it's like. This is a really simplistic way of thinking about it, but like it's like a cover song, right? So like somebody wrote this song 100 years ago, 75 years ago. That person is no longer alive, and so all they did is wrote the music, and so you have to like you're recreating it every single time you play it.
I've never thought
it's
of
like
that
a cover song.
I've never
it's
thought
like a
of
cover,
that
right? And so like when people say like he plays it better than this, it's almost like when you think about someone taking a David Bowie song, right? They're reinterpreting that music. In whatever their style is, and so that's what conductors do. So they
add their flair.
They add their flair. So like to them, it's like, oh, the horn section's more important maybe than the violins, and so they all kind of once you've kind of heard different pieces conducted by different folks, you can tell those differences.
That's why you gotta go off it.
That's why you gotta go off it. And I encourage everybody to come down for sure. Like it's your orchestra.
It's our orchestra. It's our
orchestra. Yeah.
So how did you transition from that radio station to
the Walt Disney Concert
to the Walt Disney Concert Hall? We have a vibe going. We have the lights on.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to make it familiar
to you. It's
like
the hall. No, so this was a funny story. So I was kind of in the middle of the classical music world, right? So like the station was a beautiful place. I got to go to Tijuana every week. I made a lot of
food there is so good.
Yeah, and my family lives in Tijuana.
Nice.
So I got to see my grandma every Wednesday. It was beautiful. And I had it made, but I had a dream, and this is a true story. It's super creepy, and I told it during my interview, and I wish I could take it back, but I can say.
First listen, and then I want to hear why would you take it back? It's such a dope story.
Okay, so I had a dream that I came to the Walt Disney Concert Hall, and that I sat in the front row, and at the time Gustavo Dudamel was like the most exciting thing that was happening to classical music. He was Latino. He was young, and he was taking the classical music.
And he had cool hair.
He had amazing hair, no gel.
No gel.
And so I had a dream that I came to see him in concert. I had never seen him in concert. I'd only heard his music, and had a dream that he stopped the concert and looked at me and said, "You need to come work for me."
When he stopped the concert, did the concert was it all of a sudden empty and it was just you and him?
Yeah, kind of, because I just remember like him performing and then just kind of stopping the orchestra, turning around and saying like, "You need to come work for me." And I was like,
did you reply to him?
I was just like, "Eh?" I'm like 26 years old. I'm like, me? So I went to work the next day. I told my boss about the dream. And so I said, like, oh, I had a dream that Gustavo told me to come work for him. And she said, if Gustavo ever calls you, you go. So that's the deal we made. And
did she say it, like, in what tone?
She laughed.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, so she was like, "Oh, you're a fangirl. You're a fangirl, and
you got the bug.
Good
you got the classical bug.
Exactly. Good luck with that." And so then, I'm from LA, and I had been living in San Diego for 10 years, and I really thought it's time to go home. Like I had this feeling, like it's time to go home. I want to go home, but I just didn't want to go anywhere. And it was the classical music world, and I said, like, well, where can I work? Yeah. The only place that I really wanted to work was the LA Phil. I didn't even know about the Hollywood Bowl. At that time, it was like, I just want to work for the LA Philharmonic. And I want to work for Gustavo. So I looked at their jobs, and they had one job, and it was for an assistant. But
you were literally following your dreams.
Literally following my dream. But at the time, like I had kind of like, I was a manager, I think. Might have been, I was like overseeing my department, and it was like, I could come to the Phil and be an assistant, and I thought, you know what? This is what it's all about. You gotta take a risk. Like, I'm gonna get paid less, but I'm going home and I'm gonna go grind, and then figure it out. And I did. I came and I interviewed, and first interview was like, okay, this might happen, and then they called me back for a second interview, and I was like, I think I'm going home. Like I really had that thought, like, man, now I gotta pack up my whole house.
It became real.
Oh yeah, and then I was like, am I gonna live with my mom or not? Because at that time I was like 27, and I was
gotta save that money.
You gotta. Well, but also I was like, I left my house when I was 17, coming home when I was like 20 some. It was hard, but it saved money. I did save money. But so I came back to the Phil. So I had to go back, and I told my boss. So I said, like...
You're like, hey, Dudamel called.
Yeah, I said, hey, remember that dream I told you about? We're like in the middle of like, we're finishing like a big meeting, and I go, hey, do you have a couple minutes? And she goes, yeah. I said, remember that dream I had a couple years ago? And she's like, no. I don't know what you're talking about. I said, the one about Gustavo. And I could see it in her face. She was like, yes. And I said, well, Gustavo called.
Oh.
And she was like, well, then you have to go, So
have you told Gustavo that story?
No.
Why not?
No, okay, so now I have to tell you that I told this really embarrassing story in an interview, and like the woman that was interviewing me, she just kind of smiled, and in my mind I was like, I've already started the story and I can't stop it, but I know I sound like a creep, like I sound like I'm gonna stalk him or something, right?
But a tinfoil hat on, like he's calling me.
He's calling me right now. But it was really, and then years later I talked to a professional coach, and she said those are the moments where like you have your instinct kicks in, right? Mm-hmm. Like you were destined to do something, and the universe is telling you that that's kind of the direction that you need to go into, and you followed it, right? You followed it, because I did. I took a position that like I knew was gonna kind of be easy for me, and I was gonna struggle because that wasn't what I wanted to do, but it was my foot in, And 10 years later, I've been working for the LA Phil for 10 years, and I don't regret it. Like,
it's amazing.
It's been an amazing ride.
I mean, I love it. I've always I romanticize the LA Phil a lot, like personally. It's an institution.
Yeah.
And then now to know that like there's representation there, there's really cool things, and all the things that you guys are doing with the bowl, right? Like to be able to take the michelada, to serve my micheladas there, it's such a dream come true. I'm so grateful for all that. And even like you guys partner up with LA Works, and you guys have LA Phil beer.
Yeah.
And we sold that at Smorgasburg.
Yeah.
And it's one of my favorite beers as well. I love it.
And that was a project that I worked on for a really long time. So I had this I'm a big fan of the craft beer kind of scene here in LA and in San Diego at the time when I was living there. And our centennial happened. It just finished, or we're gonna turn 100 on October 24th of this year. But we had a whole year where we celebrated the 100th anniversary of the orchestra, and we started it with Celebrate LA. But I was like, I need an idea. Like, I'm a promotions person, so I'm like, as you know, because we always talk about like promos, and like we're kind of those ideas. We need a hook for the season, and I thought, we have this series that we call Casual Friday. So I partner up with the LA Brewers Guild, who oversees all the breweries in Los Angeles. And the president and I had been talking for a long time, like, let's do a beer. And I said, like, I want to do it for the centennial. So I kind of like wasn't sure if it was going to get approved. So I moved everything like without anybody's approval. Like, and I negotiated the deal with the brewery. I met with them. We talked about marketing. I had the designers design the can, which I don't have it here.
It's a beautiful can.
It's a beautiful can.
Next time you come on.
Yes, I'll bring it because it is delicious, and I might have another beer. So
we'll
I'll
have two beers.
But anyway, so like I pitched it up. I had the prototype. I gave it to my boss, and I basically said like, no other orchestra has a beer.
Yeah.
Like, and so we called it LA Phil 100. It's a brewed IPA.
Yeah. Which makes it like it's a low hop, very easy to drink. The first time I drank it, I was like, it just tastes like a good beer.
Yeah.
And actually, the first time I tried it, someone brought it to my house. It was like it wasn't even given to me by the brewery or anybody on your team. Yeah. It was just like someone brought it to my house.
Yeah, and it's an IPA, which is really interesting, right? Because like IPA has that like for me, IPAs are really interesting because they're very hoppy.
Yeah.
But this is almost, it has a Hefeweizen.
Yeah, it tastes like a good beer.
Yeah.
It tastes like if you idealize what a beer is, without stripping everything away, it's just a good beer.
It was 100 years in the making. See?
It
But it was just, you know, it was a hit. But I sent it to the board of directors, essentially to like the admin for the LA Phil, like all like CEO and presidents and all of them, with the idea conceptualized with the can, and they all loved it.
Yeah.
And so like they all took a chance on it, and you know was able to. LA Works should like giving them a shout out because they're amazing.
Yeah, they're super great. Out of Hawthorne.
Yeah, they're out of Hawthorne. And was able to get orchestra members to get involved. So actually, the actual beer, the recipe was a collaboration between our orchestra members and the brewmaster.
You know what? As soon as it's released, we'll have the LA Works people on here.
Yes.
And we'll talk to them about it.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I love those guys. They're awesome. So, but yeah, so we made a beer for the centennial, and so I think it's like that's the part about my job that I really love.
Yeah.
You know, like
the creative aspect.
The creative aspect, like. You can imagine what you may want to do, and so like the LA Phil, you know, has thankfully given me the opportunity to like dream big. So they're like, "What do you want to do this year?" So, and we have the Hollywood Bowl Centennial coming up in 2021, I believe. So right now I'm kind of thinking through what are some
we'll have
of
a
those.
Centennial Michelada edition.
I mean, I'm saying this is the birth of that project.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love your product, you know. So nothing would make me happier than to
No,
do something cool
and
with
you
you
know,
guys.
I think here's my last question. If someone's never been to the LA Phil, right? And it's kind of not scary. It's kind of intimidating, right? To be like, oh, it's a thing, and because I think people who don't go, people who are not, all you see in your head is like Texas and like it's very white glove, you know, like. Well, how would you pitch it to someone? How would you pitch it to someone who went to school with you that doesn't see themselves, but you know if they went, they would love it?
Okay. I would say, do you believe in the power of music? There is nothing like experiencing live music at Walt Disney Concert Hall.
Yeah.
Like the place, they say it's an instrument inside an instrument. So think about the acoustics of that place, right? So like, and you know, we've had all kinds of musicians. So we've had the orchestra with like Café Tacuba, we've had the orchestra with Bjork, but to Santa Cecilia. So, but just imagine being able to take out the artist out of that, right? And so where you're able to feel the vibration of the timpani, or you're able to hear every note that the violin does. And so like it's one of these things where like it takes you to a place that you can't even imagine, and it's very emotional.
Yeah.
Like I've taken friends to the hall who cried, and this is a true story, but it's because it takes you somewhere, right? So like instead of being there kind of trying to sing the lyric to the song, there's something beautiful about that too. You feel it because there's no words to it. So you almost have to surrender your whole body to an experience, and you have to experience it with them. So it's like this motion, you know? And you know, and I would say like it's a gift that we have this in Los Angeles. Like not everybody has the hall that we have. Not every, like Walt Disney Concert Hall, there's one of them.
Yeah.
You know, and the LA Phil, there's one of them, and like they're prestigious, and you know people call them out all over the world as like one of the best orchestras because they really are.
They are.
Yeah. So, and I would say like all of the things that you imagine in your mind, like they're not that.
Just go.
Just go. Come on Friday nights. You can have a beer with us. We have free wine. So every Friday night, any Friday night concert that you come, we give you free wine.
Really?
Yeah. So we call it the garden.
That's
so
it.
Come out to the garden.
Come out to the garden.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
People can find me on Instagram, La Fuentes 13.
La Fuentes 13.
Or if you come to the hall, you can find me in the garden. With a
Come
glass
to the
of wine.
garden. Bring her a glass of wine. She can double fist. Follow her on Instagram. Come out to the Phil. Come out to the Hollywood Bowl and have a michelada eventually.
Yeah.
And
Salud.
cheers. Salud.
Gracias.
I want to have you on. We'll talk a lot more because I love that like that.